People who know about the Epic of Gilgamesh might think it's just a made-up tale, something not real or too unbelievable, or just a wild bedtime story. But guess what? Archaeologists in Iraq just cracked open a tomb. They've got terrifying evidence that Gilgamesh, the giant of legends, was no myth. This famous mythical giant was actually real. Now, imagine this ancient tomb, sealed tighter than a pickle jar for thousands of years. What terrifying secrets are lurking in there? Are we on the brink of finding some of the most chilling secrets ever, and make some of the most shocking discoveries of our lifetime? This is going to be one epic journey of thrilling discoveries. Let's dive in. Epic of Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh, finding out that creatures once thought to be only in old stories were real people who walk the earth is really exciting. One of the most interesting characters in this discovery is King Gilgamesh, the main person in the Epic of Gilgamesh. This old story is all about the life, challenges, and personal growth of King Gilgamesh from the city of Uruk. Gilgamesh's adventures and amazing abilities are the main focus of this story. They say he's 2/3 god and 1/3 human, and he's super strong and capable. He's bigger and more beautiful than others, and his family background makes him special. But, like many powerful people, he becomes a bit too proud. At the start of his rule, Gilgamesh acts like a tyrant. He makes his people work hard on building things and controls the marriages of newlywed couples, causing a lot of trouble. The people of Uruk ask the gods for help, and the gods decide to do something about it. They make a wild man named Enkidu from clay, thinking he can distract Gilgamesh and stop him from causing more problems. But something unexpected happens during a big wrestling match between Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Instead of staying enemies, they become really good friends. How amazing! Their friendship grows, and they go on exciting adventures together. These adventures not only show off Gilgamesh's amazing abilities but also teach us how powerful and important true friendship can be. Adventure to Cedar Forest. Their adventure to Cedar Forest, one of the earliest and bravest adventures Gilgamesh and his close friend Enkidu embark on, is their journey to the Cedar Forest, ruled by the powerful demigod Humbaba. Despite many warnings about Humbaba's strength, the pair, led by Gilgamesh's strong desire for fame and glory, boldly enter the forest. With his great strength, strong will, and help from the sun god Shamash, they face Humbaba. Gilgamesh bravely confronts and defeats Humbaba, not only making him known as a strong warrior but also catching the god's attention, showing how powerful he is. Another display of Gilgamesh's strength happens when he turns down the goddess Ishtar. Angry about the rejection, Ishtar sends the bull of heaven to cause chaos in the city of Uruk. Gilgamesh and Enkidu, together, face the heavenly creature and manage to defeat it, making the gods even angrier. But standing up to the gods has consequences. In response to their disobedience, the gods decide that one of the two friends has to pay the price. Sadly, Enkidu is chosen, falling very sick and eventually dying. This heartbreaking loss crushes Gilgamesh, who, until then, thought he was invincible and now has to deal with the tough reality of death. Gilgamesh's quest for immortality. Feeling sad, Gilgamesh starts a big journey, his most important test yet, to find a way to live forever. He's scared of ending up like his close friend Enkidu, who died, and he doesn't want to face the fact that everyone dies one day. Gilgamesh is looking for a guy named Utnapishtim, who got eternal life after surviving a huge flood. This story is kind of like the one about Noah in the Bible that many people know. Gilgamesh's journey to find Utnapishtim is super tough. He has to go through big mountains, meet a scary scorpion man and his mate, and deal with the dangerous waters of death. Through all these challenges, Gilgamesh shows how tough he is and that he won't give in to fate. When Gilgamesh finally meets Utnapishtim, he learns a tough truth: living forever is impossible for regular people. Utnapishtim tells the story of a big flood where the gods decided to wipe out everyone. Utnapishtim survived and got eternal life as a special gift. This makes Gilgamesh realize that, despite his strong powers from the gods, he can't change what nature and the gods decide. Utnapishtim gives Gilgamesh a hard task: stay awake for 7 days, and maybe he'll learn the secret to living forever. But Gilgamesh can't do it, showing that even his amazing abilities have limits. Still, Utnapishtim gives him a little hope, a plant that can make someone young again. Thinking he can bring something awesome back to his city, Uruk, Gilgamesh gets the plant. But things go wrong when a snake takes it. Even though Gilgamesh loses the plant, it's not all bad. He comes back to Uruk as a smarter king, learning a lot from his journey. While he still has super strength and skills, he now knows there are limits to his powers in the big plan of nature and the gods. Unraveling the Epic of Gilgamesh. For centuries, scientists tried to figure out the Epic of Gilgamesh, a really old story. They wanted to know if the main character, Gilgamesh, was a real person. But it wasn't until the 1800s that a guy named Austen Henry Layard made big progress. In 1849, Layard dug up stuff in the old city of Nineveh, and it was a huge deal. Besides showing off how interesting the Assyrian people were, Layard found a bunch of old things with writing on them. These things were like books and showed that the Assyrians had a lot of great stories, laws, and religious stuff. Layard found the libraries of Ashurbanipal, a big leader of the Assyrians. Among all the things Layard found, there were bits of the Epic of Gilgamesh. This epic is about Gilgamesh, a king from a place called Sumer, and his friend Enkidu. It was written in Akkadian, a language used by the Assyrians and Babylonians. Even though the tablets weren't whole, they had important parts, like a story about a flood. This flood story sounded a lot like the one about Noah's Ark from the Bible. Finding similarities between these stories hinted that different cultures might have shared stories and beliefs. After Layard's dig, a lot of the things, including the Gilgamesh bits, went to the British Museum in London. This museum became a big place for Assyrian stuff and got people excited about digging into the past. In the museum, experts looked closely at the tablets, fixed them up, and showed them off. Today, lots of folks still love checking out these ancient tablets at the museum. The museum has been very important in learning more about these old civilizations, and experts from all over the world work together to translate the tablets. The Epic of Gilgamesh, made from Layard's bits and more discoveries, got translated into many languages and is now a famous story worldwide. It's not just a stunning story, it also teaches us important things about friendship, being scared of death, and the never-ending search for meaning and living forever. People from all kinds of places and times still find something special in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Translation of the cuneiform inscriptions. Sadly, in 1894, Layard passed away, but his awesome discoveries in Nineveh and Nimrud set the stage for exploring the ancient Near East. The stuff he found, especially linked to the Epic of Gilgamesh, didn't just show us an old world, it made connections across time. Layard's finds uncovered shared human experiences that still shape the research on the Epic of Gilgamesh. Even though Layard dug up the tablets, the real hero for figuring out what they said was George Smith, who worked at the British Museum. In the 1870s, Smith's translations played a big part in understanding Gilgamesh's story in the writings Layard found. Smith was a smart guy who taught himself to read old scripts like Egyptian hieroglyphs, Greek, Hebrew, and cuneiforms. Cuneiform is what the ancient Mesopotamians wrote on clay tablets, like the ones Layard and others found in Nineveh. When the tablets got to the British Museum, Smith got excited about them and spent his lunch breaks learning about cuneiform. He made friends with important people, like Samuel Birch and Henry Rawlinson. Rawlinson saw how talented Smith was and hired him to help in the Assyriology department in 1870, opening the door for more cool discoveries about ancient Mesopotamia. In 1872, Smith hit a jackpot. He got a piece of a tablet with a flood story that was a lot like the one in the Bible. He realized it was an old Babylonian version, coming before the Hebrew one. This was a big deal, and Smith wrote a book about it called The Chaldean Account of Genesis. People went crazy about the book, and it got the attention of scholars and regular folks alike. Smith wowed everyone at the Society of Biblical Archaeology with an exciting talk. He told the story of the flood from the tablet he translated and, in the end, jumped up, shouting, "I'm the first person to read this in over 2,000 years." Smith's find got people really into the Epic of Gilgamesh, giving more background to the flood story. To learn more and finish his translation, Smith got money from the Daily Telegraph in 1873 to go back to Nineveh. There, he found important pieces, like the Epic of Atrahasis tablet, which had most of the flood story. He also found tablets with stories similar to or maybe influencing other Bible stories, like creating people from clay, a serpent tempting someone, and the Tower of Babel. Back in England, Smith kept working on the Epic of Gilgamesh, sharing what he found in many articles and books. He planned to go back to Nineveh in 1876 for more discoveries, but sadly, he got sick and died in Aleppo, Syria, at only 36. Despite his short time, Smith's work laid the foundation for exploring the ancient world. The British Council in Aleppo honored him with a proper farewell, recognizing his important contributions towards this discovery. The discovery of Gilgamesh tomb. The exciting adventure of finding this huge discovery started with some sophisticated surveys, like using magnets done around the old walls of Uruk. Jorg Fassbinder and his intrepid team led the way, and their surveys found a special underwater building that was different from everything else around it. When they dug it up, they found something amazing, a grand tomb that looked a lot like the one talked about in the Epic of Gilgamesh. This discovery was a big moment for archaeologists and scholars. The tomb's design and the things they found inside it were a lot like what was described in the old text. One really interesting thing was where the tomb was. It matched exactly what the Epic of Gilgamesh said about Gilgamesh's burial place by the Euphrates River. It was like the words from the old story turned into a treasure map for the dig. Inside the tomb, they found a big room with lots of things buried in it. Among those things, one stood out. It mentioned Bil-Gams, which is the Sumerian name for Gilgamesh. This gave a big clue that the tomb belonged to the great king. And if that wasn't exciting enough, there were stone sculptures of fierce lions, reminding everyone of Gilgamesh's famous battle with the tough beast Humbaba in the cedar forest. But the mystery didn't end there. They found many tablets with writings inside the tomb, and they told stories that matched the Epic of Gilgamesh. These tablets shared adventures, meetings with gods, and stories that were just like the ones in the known tale. It made the case even stronger that this tomb might be where Gilgamesh was laid to rest. The discovery not only made the old story come alive but also connected us to the past, helping us understand more about this legendary person and the world he lived in. In the tomb, there was also an amazing statue made of alabaster. This special sculpture showed a strong man fighting a lion, just like Gilgamesh did in the story. But the tomb wasn't just a place for stunning things and statues, it was much more than that. Network of chambers in Gilgamesh tomb. Jorg Fassbinder made an amazing discovery when he found a bunch of rooms and hallways inside the tomb. It was like a sophisticated place fit for a legendary king. In one room, they found old plant pieces that scientists thought could be the special plant of life from Gilgamesh's story. This plant was supposed to bring back youth, and it was a big deal in his adventures. The idea that it might be in his tomb as a gift or symbol is really exciting. The way they buried things in the tomb matched how the Sumerians did it, just like the description of King Gilgamesh being part divine and part human. The design of the tomb, with an upper part and a deeper, more special burial place, matched the idea of honoring someone connected to both heaven and earth. They even found writings about Enkidu, Gilgamesh's best friend, on tablets in the tomb. These tablets talked about their friendship, challenges, and strong bonds, making people think that the stories about them were more than just made-up tales but real events and relationships. Jorg Fassbinder's big discovery made news even on BBC News and all over the world, and experts from different fields rushed to the site. They wanted to connect history and stories and dig things up in an epic way. Finding King Gilgamesh's tomb near Uruk was a huge deal that linked today with the mythical past. But it's not just the tomb that's interesting. The area around Uruk has shown bits of an old world that sounds a lot like the stories from the Epic of Gilgamesh. In the remains, archaeologists found things people used in their everyday lives and some interesting materials and tools too. It's astonishing to think that these things might have belonged to people who heard or shared Gilgamesh's stories, making a real connection between the things they found and the epic hero's legendary tale. The story unfolding in the old soil of Uruk is like a real-life version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, bringing the mysteries of the past to life. What are your thoughts about this discovery? Let us know in the comments below. See you in the next video for more exciting content.